Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of Wrestling is Cool, the coolest wrestling podcast on the planet. My name is Santi, and I've been doing wrestling content creation for quite some time now, but I've been wanting to get this podcast off the ground running, and I couldn't have chosen a better partner in crime than my co-host today, Sancho West. Sancho, this is your first foray really into the world of wrestling content creation, so why don't you quickly introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Sancho West, like you said, and I'm a big wrestling fan. I've been a fan since the 80s and grew up during the Attitude Era. I'm excited about doing Wrestling is Cool because I do believe wrestling is cool, and I defend it at every time I bring it up at every turn because I am a streamer and things of that sort. I play video games. I've hosted a lot of things. You may have seen me on Twitch or Twitch Rivals or even on the Fortnite, which is the professional FNCS stream. Santi, when you asked me to do this, I've been very elated because I used to do a podcast a long time ago covering wrestling, reviewing the WrestleManias and things of that sort. And I just never had an outlet. And for the people that are watching that are big Santi fans, you know this more than I do, is I feel that Santi has brought together a lot of nomads or lost people when it comes to fandom of wrestling. And that is why I'm here. You brought me back into the fold, into the lexicon, into the world of wrestling. And I cannot wait to go on this journey because I have lots of things to say when it comes to wrestling. And I feel that hopefully my view is unique and that I'm just excited to be on this journey for you, man. I was a big fan of the previous podcast, and I'm a big fan of all your watch parties and the little shorts you put on TikTok, things of that sort. And I think this is enough. I'm giving you too much shine. I'm gonna have to cut you off there. Okay, I'm done. I'm gonna have to cut you off.
For sure. Hey, and one of the reasons why I'm excited to have you as a host, and not a guest, I want to clarify, like Sancho is going to be a full-time host here, is that we have a similar but also separate history in terms of what we grew up with the world of professional wrestling, because you and I are both very into it right now, and I at some point would like to have a discussion as to whether or not we're in the best era of professional wrestling. Let's put a bow on that for now.
Yeah, that's a good question.
But I grew up ruthless aggression era, PG era, into the reality era, into the pandemic era, into where we are today. That's not the case for you because you have a gap in your professional wrestling fandom. And I'd like you to share that with people so that people understand what holes you need filled in terms of your wrestling. That was poor choice of words, but you get what I'm trying to say. What era of professional wrestling you might be weaker with, but what era of professional wrestling you'll be able to help me out with.
Absolutely. Early 90s was my thing, was my bag. Granted, when I was watching all the, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, things of that era, and then the Attitude Era is really when wrestling became a thing. I mean, you really missed out on the Monday Night Wars. There's something special about when I remember, because then you had no DVR. You literally had to flip-flop between the WWF, Monday Night Raw, going into WCW. It was those kinds of things. It was the hottest time in wrestling. And then I don't know what happened. I was one of those people that would be like, I don't know these guys. These names are just boring names, and I'm never familiar with the Randy Ortons, or of course I know better now, but that's when I fell off. I just decided to stop watching wrestling. It wasn't just that I grew up or anything. It's just the material didn't grasp me as the Stone Colds and the Rock and the Undertaker. Granted, during that era, the Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H were still cooking. There were times where I will still watch, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Undertaker, like that whole era, things of that sort. So I didn't really miss out on that. It was just the in-between, Cena's Thugonomics, Cena's run as a Super Cena, all those kinds of things. Those are the things I definitely missed out on. The Undisputed Era, all those kind of factions that happened. CM Punk's run, I mainly missed. So those are a lot of the holes that I have. But then I came back.
The holes you need filled.
Yeah, those are the holes I need filled. But I came back when The Rock came back. That's when I started to see Cena again. That's when I started to get back into it. Introduction of the, CM Punk versus Undertaker and that main event. And then, of course, with the beauty of the WWE Network, that really got me back into catching up with a lot of the big matches of the time. And then, now it's Peacock. But I got back into wrestling, and with the pandemic during the Thunderdome and all those kinds of things, that really got into it a little bit more. And now, I watch as much as I can, And I'm not the kind of the dirt sheet diver as a lot of people may be, but I still listen to wrestling podcasts, and I'm hoping that wrestling is cool. Well, wrestling is cool will be another one into the fold for some people out there. So I absorb it. I love it. My kids love it. I'm trying to get my kids to love it. They're 5 and 2, a little too young for them, but I'm trying to get involved with it. Anytime it's in my town, I go to a wrestling event. My favorite thing that I did was when I was in Tokyo, I convinced my wife to go watch Kenny Omega in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Nice. Tokyo Dome?
No. It was the hall next to it. It was
yeah.
But that famous hall next to it, and I don't want to butcher the name of it, but it was amazing. Watching the young lions go to work, watching Suzuki, right? I think him go to work and hearing those slaps.
The Minoru Suzuki slaps, man.
Dude.
Those are the original Gunther chops, man.
And dude, he was nasty, man. And it was fun just being a part of that Japanese crowd. It's a different crowd.
Yeah,
it's a different reverence to be there and buying a New Japan shirt and all those kinds of things. And that's when Kenny was part of the Bullet Club. So it was a fun experience, and that's me as a wrestling fan.
Right.
I'm at that point though, Santi, is like I wish I would go see like a Triple Mania one year. I really want to go see those luchadors go at it and have a good time, especially with El Vikingo.
Hijo del Vikingo. What I've realized is that there are just some absolutely bananas independent promotions right now. I was invited a couple of months ago to go see GCW. Are you familiar with Game Changer Wrestling? Yeah. So for those that aren't familiar with Game Changer Wrestling, like they are known for death matches. Like that is what they are known for. I mean, Matt Cardona is over there. He's calling himself the king of death matches, which is an absolutely hilarious stick. Anyways,
the Indie Taker.
The Indie Taker. That was so good. One of the things I also wanted, one of the reasons I'm excited to have you along is to be your Sherpa through the Ruthless Aggression era, because a lot of people look at the Ruthless Aggression era with these rose tinted glasses and say that's one of the best eras of wrestling. See, the thing is, Sancho, as I guide you through the Ruthless Aggression era throughout this journey, you're going to find out that the Ruthless Aggression era is both the best and the worst of wrestling ever, because it was an era where they were trying to find their new Stone Cold. They lost Stone Cold and The Rock. We have no one at the top. We don't have that top baby face. So it was an era where they just tried everything. They tried everyone at the top at some point or another, and some stuck, some didn't. That's how the likes of JBL got to the top, Eddie Guerrero. That's why the Ruthless Aggression era is such a beautiful era, because it gave so many people an opportunity to shine at the top, and it was all about finding who could stay at the top, and that's where the John Cena's and Batistas came in. But it was years of experimentation, and it is a weird time for wrestling. I can't wait to take you through that.
And, at the same time, we will definitely walk through the Attitude Era, and it wasn't all that great. I can tell you that right now. It was not all that great. I mean, if you weren't the top story, you're mid-card, or even if you're like the jobber level, it was not that great. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is Val Venus, the story.
Choppy, chop.
Yeah, that was bad. There's lots of things that did not age well in the Attitude Era.
No.
I mean, Mark Henry giving birth.
Are you talking smack about sexual chocolate?
Listen, dude, there's just like things that just don't age well, and you're just like, I don't even know. I mean, because for me, I always took wrestling as face value, and I know there's writers involved, and I know at the Attitude Era there's writers involved, and like Vince Russo and Bischoff booking, like all those kind of different styles of different booking. I don't know, dude. I always see wrestling as what are the performers doing in the ring, and are they conveying the message that they want through their promo? That's how I judge wrestling. That's how I look at a match, and we're gonna talk about Payback later. That's how I look at pay-per-views or premium live events, PLEs. Are they telling the story that they're trying to tell, and are they setting up stories for the next couple months? And that is how I look at it. And I feel that sometimes wrestling misses a mark on that. And as I have a theater background, so I always see this as a theatrical performance, and I always see wrestling as a very grueling theatrical performance. But it's funny to see that there's some wrestlers who get it, and for some wrestlers that they don't. So I'm just excited, man. There's just like, I'm just really hoping that my perspective in this entire thing, that I hope I shed wrestling a new light for a lot of people out there.
For sure. And you know what? It's in the title. So I'm going to ask you, Sancho. And by the way, there's a question we're going to ask every single guest. Why do you think wrestling's cool?
Man, I loved it since I was a kid. I mean, these guys were superheroes. These guys were walking mythical gods running around. They were titans of their time. For granted, Hogan's not the best of the best in terms of these days, but when I was a kid, Hogan was it all. Hogan was bigger than life, and they're just the light bulbs, man. That's what always made it so cool for me is the arena, and you see the flashing light bulbs, which you don't see anymore. Just like they're just popping off everywhere, and these guys are putting themselves through the ring, and it just was like it's just fun. It gives you something to cheer for, someone to boo. And it's lighthearted and it's fun and it's fun for everybody in the family to enjoy. I just think wrestling is cool is because sometimes when it's right, like when those times where it's magical, when everything aligns, the buildup is perfect, the wrestlers are on point, there's the action in the ring's on point, they're telling a story. And when just everybody in that arena, you could feel it. You could feel that electricity, as The Rock would say. You could feel the moment building and then the pop off, and it's just something about it that you can't really find in any other medium. I would say you can't find it in you could find it in a movie, but it's always that awkward clap at the end of the movie, like when people clap.
Yeah, there's no connection,
right?
like because a wrestler's job is to create that connection with the audience, and I think you and I are in a similar wavelength here. Because the reason that I think wrestling is cool is that roller coaster of emotion that a match can take you through from beginning to end, and like even if you know where it's going to inevitably end, like the result, it's how we get to the result that takes you through those peaks and valleys. And one of my favorite things to do is when I can get a skeptical wrestling fan to, hey bud, come here, let me just give it a chance. Like for example, I took my girlfriend to her first show was NXT TakeOver Toronto, and also NXT TakeOver Toronto 2, and just seeing her light up, even though she didn't understand the full stories and the narrative, but watching her go through the roller coaster of emotions that I tend to go through was such a awesome experience, because it's like, yeah, that is why wrestling is cool. Like that feeling that it gives fans.
It's the same thing that people will find in common for sports in general. It's just, it's a moment in time that we all just sit down, put aside everything that's been going on throughout the day. Before social media, it was just like, this is it, dude. I am watching wrestling. I'm going to watch these stories unfold. I'm going to watch my favorite characters do the thing. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to get mad. I'm going to, evoke emotion. And that's what's so beautiful about wrestling. And even at the lowest, at the indie level, all the way up to the big leagues, there's always that journey that is so exciting to watch. And I think what I love about wrestling is like, it will make you believe that there is a supernatural being known as the Undertaker. It will make you believe that Papa Shango made Ultimate Warrior sick, and Ultimate Warrior started throwing up green Nickelodeon vomit, and you're freaking out as a kid. You're like, oh my, is Ultimate Warrior okay? Right? So those are the memories that I latch onto the most as a kid when it comes to these things. Like, sure, I love movies. Sure, I love video games. I love all that nerdy stuff. But let me just put this in I guess, the way the cherry on top here, or to wrap on this here. Remember that feeling when you watch Avengers Endgame at the very end and the crowd is getting into it and everybody's excited? That's what wrestling does. Wrestling is that medium that does it more than ever. And it took 20 years of movie buildup, or 20 movies, I'm sorry, of movie buildup for the MCU to get that. And we will never get that in the MCU ever again. Like, that won't happen in movies ever again. You will never have a crowd get so hyped when Captain America finally says his line, because that to me is the same feeling of seeing Kofi Kingston going through the gauntlets and multiple gauntlets of Kofi Mania and him finally getting that 1, 2, 3. That is the same feeling or equivalent to of Avengers Endgame to me. And wrestling could do that multiple times.
For sure.
Even on a weekly basis as well. That's why wrestling is cool.
This episode of Wrestling is Cool has been brought to you by our patrons over at patreon.com/SantiZap. Again, that's patreon.com/SantiZap, where for a few extra bucks, you will get access to Wrestling is Cool 3 days earlier than everyone else, along with exclusive content that only our patrons will see, like our supplementary podcast called Wrestling is Cool Plus, which is just more wrestling conversations alongside every review of Raw and SmackDown alongside NXT that we will make available to the public. And you'll also get access to the monthly book club and the monthly mailbag. All that for just a couple of bucks. Again, it's patreon.com/SantiZap. Thank you for your support. And back to the episode. Folks, thank you so much for dealing with us there for those first few minutes. But I felt like we needed a little bit of getting to know you phase, since this is episode 1 of Wrestling is Cool, the first of many. But today's topics are 2 topics. We're going to be talking Chicago-made chick magnet Punk has been terminated from his All Elite Wrestling contract. And of course, we will be talking about WWE Payback 2023 results, what we thought of the matches, and where we could see feuds and storylines going. But CM Punk. So you got back into wrestling when Punk started to really blow up in popularity. Okay?
Yes.
And I'm kind of in a similar boat. So I took a little bit of a hiatus from wrestling, and I came back to wrestling when I heard that The Rock came back. And when I came back to wrestling, I'm like, who the hell is The Miz? What, is that John Morrison from Eminem? Who are these people? Like, I was just looking around like, who are these people? So I was gravitating, of course, to the few that I still knew, the John Cena's, the Randy Ortons. And then there was this one guy who one day on Monday Night Raw grabbed the microphone. And to this day, I still believe it is the greatest professional wrestling promo of all time that's been dubbed the Pipe Bomb. To me, right. Sancho, that promo saved professional wrestling for me, because I came back and I was wholly uninterested in everything that was going on, to the point where I was like, why did I come back? I was about to stop watching, And that promo clicked something in my brain that I'm like, that is what wrestling is about. And that they need to build on that. And I need to see what happens next week after that promo. And here I am 13 years later, a professional wrestling content creator. So I owe, genuinely not exaggerating, my career to CM Punk. Although, of course, revisionist history, I'm looking back with things in hindsight. That is the moment that kept me a professional wrestling fan. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I'd be today. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because I am a bona fide CM Punk apologist. This man, to me, can do no wrong. Through and through, from all of the drama that was happening in the WWE, the initial drama with AEW, I was ride or die family, as Vin Diesel would say, with everything that was going on with CM Punk. I refuse to believe anything negative about CM Punk. And now we're seeing him being terminated from All Elite Wrestling. And now I'm, going through things in my head, and I'm noticing, okay, so there was drama with him in WWE. There was drama with him in AEW twice. Maybe this isn't a coincidence. Maybe the problem is CM Punk. And it takes a lot for me to say that. So I want to pass the buck over to you. When you heard this news, what was your initial gut reaction?
I was shocked. I felt CM Punk was untouchable. He is one of those big money draws that you cannot deny. He really, when he went to AEW that day, I was just immediately hooked on AEW even more. I always felt that AEW was missing that tentpole. I mean, you had the Kenny Omega, you had the Elite, right? You had Moxley, you had Hangman Page, and you saw them trying to develop, trying to find something. And then they start getting CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, right? Now they're bringing in some big hitters, familiar names. It feels like when Luger walked into WCW type of vibe, right? You're starting to see them build something that could compete with the WWE. And so seeing the news that they lost CM Punk, or they terminated CM Punk, shows that they are trying to build something that is more for the later. Like, they're understanding that CM Punk is a problem in this locker room. And I think it's because what ends up happening was All In London was the biggest event in pro wrestling history, and especially for AEW and world record most bought tickets, things of that sort. And then for the only thing that our people are talking about is a backstage brawl between Jack Perry and CM Punk and Samoa Joe and Tony Khan fearing for his life, all those kinds of things. I think that was the thing that was the last straw. It was like, there's nothing that we can do as a company. If CM Punk sneezes wrong, if CM Punk hits does something outside of the ring, we will always be overshadowed by CM Punk. And that's the thing about CM Punk, is that he is that big of a megastar, in that because a lot of people are like, it's interesting when someone gets ousted as a problem or being dramatic, you see everybody else, you go like, yeah, this guy's a problem, and here's why. Like I saw videos of Seth Rollins saying that they don't want him at all in the locker room. Stay away, Philly Phil. He said, I just think that CM Punk was just too big for AEW to deal with, and it could be his, drama, or his, lack of a better word, diva status that he has behind the scenes, or the amount of attention he needs. But I just felt that CM Punk would never felt like he was one of the boys. And once you're in that type of situation, you're not one of the boys, you're not part of the elite, you're not this indie wrestler, you're not someone that grinded his way to get into an AEW promotion, like a bigger promotion, then you're never going to fit in. And they tried, Santi, they tried to help CM Punk to fit in by giving him his own Collision show. But I just think once you get to a PL Elite event, too much friction, and they had to cut him.
Yeah, I mean, I want to put a pin on the conversation about Collision, because that contract was basically signed off the back of the existence of CM Punk, like entirely. Right. That's why Warner Brothers. Yeah, Warner Brothers basically is like, bring back CM Punk and we'll give you a different time slot. So I'm very curious as to what's going to happen with Collision, both on like the business end, like the back end. What is Warner Brothers going to think of this whole situation, and also what's going to be happening to the ratings? I know, like, ratings are such a 90s way to measure things. They still matter. They matter. Whether you want to admit it or not, they matter.
They care about it.
They care about them. Yeah, for sure. They care about it.
The suits
for sure. Advertisers. Yeah. So it is an important thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. But yeah, I like what you pointed out about the CM Punk not feeling, at the very least, us from the outside looking in, like not one of the boys. But also that brings up a question of, why is there this feeling of the boys? Like I would have figured that AEW would have realized and learned from old WCW days, or the toxic days of WWE, where like having the boys run things and being political and making decisions is not a good way to do business. It's not a good long-term solution. The adverb is, you don't let the inmates run the asylum, right? And I got, at the very minimum, commend Tony Khan as robotic and as AI feeling as that announcement felt. I feel like that's the one moment where he realized, like, I have to be the boss. Like, I have to run this. I can't let these people dictate who I can't have on certain days because they don't like each other. It's incredibly childish. It's super high school drama, and WWE went through those growing pains, and so did WCW, but WCW never got out of those growing pains. So what I'm trying to say is I'm happy that Tony Khan is recognizing, at the very minimum, that you can't have this type of backstage dynamic. But also, it's like, Tony Khan, you should have learned from history to never have this in the first place.
Genuinely, AEW did fumble the bag. I mean, CM Punk is one of the hottest wrestlers still out there, and he's still a name, right? What the failures of letting go of CM Punk, I wouldn't say is CM Punk's problem, in a sense of, like, he is who he is. And you talked about it earlier, from his WWE days, that's who he is. It's more of a management issue, a production issue. There is so many things that this is just the result of everything festering for many, many months after the backstage incident between the Elite and CM Punk. Even it goes even back further with, the Colt Cabana, all that kind of stuff, right? All this drama is just festering. Is like a boiling point. He finally hit the boiling point. Yeah. So it hit that boiling point. But the thing is, it just shows you that it's not easy being a wrestling promoter. It's just not. Tony Khan is a big fan of wrestling and even gets called a mark by MJF every now and then. But it must have been extremely difficult for him to cut one of his favorite wrestlers of all time. I mean, that is something that he had to grow for, and this is what the company need to grow as well. Tony Khan can't be a wrestling fan and be a leader in this locker room or in this company, because eventually, like you mentioned, WCW days, Hogan, Nash, Hall, they ran that. Bischoff started doing his thing. Russo came in and started colliding with Bischoff. The finger poke of doom happened. The whole thing with Jeff Jarrett laying down because Hogan didn't want to do something. You never want that to happen. Yeah. You want wrestlers who go, okay, I need to progress this happening. I need to do the X, Y, and Z. My point that I wanted to make is it just sucks because it's good to have two promotions cooking at the same time, and AEW was cooking with Collision. I hear you all the time, Santi. You're talking about now that you're doing watch parties with it, that you're like, dude, Collision is actually really fun to watch.
It's the best kept secret in wrestling that no one watches, right? Collision is the best kept secret, and admittedly, as a CM Punk fan, I don't know how much interest there will be in watching Collision anymore. And that's obviously, like, I would say that I'm a top 1% fan in professional wrestling, where I have my I watch everything and I have my finger on the pulse on just about everything. So if I'm a hardcore person that's even wavering on the on potentially watching Collision, I feel like the casual is going to drop super quickly, and it's a shame because there's so much talent that's being showcased on Collision, and it's a better wrestling product than Dynamite. It is a better in-ring product. You have the House of Black over there, you have Andrade, you have Miro, you have Ricky Starks if you're looking for somebody new, right? Samoa Joe. Like, that is the show for wrestling fans, and I love CM Punk being a part of that because he was able to, by his existence, be able to give 2 more hours of television to showcase them. And great, like, that's still going to be there, but how much longer is it going to be there? That's that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, would you say who would be the equivalent of them getting cut in their run? This would be something like, hear me out. This is strange. Sure. Walk with me here, folks. Walk with Sancho. Remember when SmackDown became a thing? Who was the top wrestler being pushed for SmackDown?
Oh, The Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah.
And then 3 weeks later, The Rock gets fired.
Yeah.
Is this the same thing as them cutting The Rock during the SmackDown infancy? Because that was huge. That was them moving into a completely different time zone, the UPN.
I mean, The Rock came up with the phrase.
Right. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, he was the poster child. CM Punk was this poster child for the third show that they have. I just feel like the roster is too thin to be able to carry 3 shows. There's not a lot of star power yet. They're growing it. I don't know how AEW is going to recover that show. Do they drop it? Do they drop Rampage to save some cost, to move things over? I know the Khans have plenty of money, but as you saw, Ted Turner had plenty of money as well, and that did not save WCW because it's the networks that make the call. And Warner Brother Discovery, y'all, I don't know if y'all know this, they have no problems cutting things. They cut the Batgirl movie. They have no problems trying to save money wherever they can. The only benefit, I would say, that saving a lot of things with wrestling, especially Collision, is that there's a writer strike right now and they need content.
100%.
They need content. So they're going to probably see a ratings drop. We've seen as well, people don't forget CM Punk. WWE still gets Punk chants every blue moon, every now and then. They're happening less, but every now and then you'll get a CM Punk chant. I just don't know how AEW is going to move on from Punk that easily. There's just no way.
I don't think that there is a way. I think this is going to linger over them for a very, very long time, especially because they decided, in my opinion, irresponsibly, to make Chicago like one of their hotbeds. Like, anytime they do a show, it's always Chicago, as opposed to like actually giving other markets a chance. Now that you've made Chicago like your go-to market, aside from Jacksonville, right? It's your second home. Yeah, it's one of your hubs. I feel like it's going to become a hostile territory. We're recording this as All Out is starting, but I was able to catch up on Collision, which also took place in Chicago. And that place, luckily, only booed Tony Khan out of the building and were actually respectful to the actual matches that were taking place. But at the end of the day, Chicago is fickle. Chicago will only let you move. It will only give you so much leash.
Chicago is a crowd you don't waste. You just don't waste. It's always a tentpole city that you go through. If you need a new storyline, if you want to get someone over, if you want to give a reveal or a new wrestler coming over, you do it in Chicago. You do it in Chicago. You do it in New York. Those are the places that you want to have your best show. And for AEW to lose that, that's going to hurt them as well. I mean, you're right. The timing was poor, but I have to say, it's one of those moves you're going to look back in and like, oh man, I think everybody benefited from CM Punk, being axed. But my question for you though is, where do you see CM Punk going?
Here's the thing, like CM Punk's two ventures are wrestling and writing, both of which, well, one of which is kind of halted. He can't really do that. He does some acting as well. Maybe he just has enough money in the bank where he doesn't do anything anymore. Maybe. I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know that there's a place for him in the WWE. I don't believe that there is a place for him in the WWE. There is the saying that Vince is willing to do business with anybody, but Vince has gone out of his way to say that, except CM Punk and Alberto Del Rio. Those seem to be the only two people that Vince refuses to do business with. Okay, well, that leaves us with Triple H. Triple H is like the reason CM Punk left. Triple H is the one that fired CM Punk. So from the top brass over in the WWE, oh, hang on. Before that, Endeavor, you think the UFC people love Phil Brooks, CM Punk? Absolutely not. Like he doesn't have friends over there. He doesn't have somebody rooting for him. I think if anything, he probably has people over there wanting to root against him. If obviously, like, I'm talking complete conjecture here and I don't actually know, I'm just connecting the pieces here, but I don't think that there's a place for him in the WWE, especially when one of the biggest stars in the WWE has gone vocal and said, never come back, Philly Phil. He called him a cancer, dude. Do I want CM Punk in WWE? Heck yeah. I know. Heck yeah, I want it, but is it gonna happen? I will mortgage my non-existent house because who's buying a house in this market? It's not happening.
You make so many of those statements. You don't do any of them. You need to eat shorts. You need to streak nude. You're not going to mortgage anything. I have two words for you, though, my friend. Two words that have changed wrestling in a long time, and this is a very underrated thing. And you know what it is? Crown jewel, my friend. The Saudis will pay so much money.
That's so true.
And if they want CM Punk to wrestle in front of their crowd, CM Punk will get paid, the WWE will get paid, and you'll get your dream match of CM Punk coming back. That's the only place in time that he will ever make a comeback, because you know why? Because it would be a one-off and people would just forget about it. CM Punk for Crown Jewel.
Yeah,
not this year. Could be next year.
Yeah, whoever runs the Saudi Arabian private fund, they're a bunch of marks. They love their nostalgia. Did you hear the story that they asked, of course, for Triple H, they asked for Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, and they also asked for the Ultimate Warrior, who'd been dead for 2 years at that point. Like they just want. Yeah, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care.
It could be it. They don't care, dude. They know he's a name. They want to see him. My question for you: who does he wrestle at? If there was a crown jewel, who does CM Punk wrestle? I mean, again, money's no object. Anything's on the table. Granted, besides AEW guys, but who would he wrestle?
Well, I think it sounds like Seth Rollins is off the table. But yeah, it sounds like Seth Rollins is off the table. But I would like something that we haven't seen, right? Because of course Cena Punk would be, that's a legendary feud. I wouldn't mind seeing that. But I'd love to see the King of Ring of Honor take on the King of TNA meeting together in WWE. Him and AJ Styles, baby. Him and AJ Styles never got to cross paths in the independents and in the WWE. I believe they did cross paths in the independents, like in Ring of Honor. But I mean, like when CM Punk was big, right? We never got to see CM Punk, AJ Styles. That to me is a dream match, and both of those guys can still go even though they're in their 40s. But that would be a dream match for me. What do you got?
Gunther versus CM Punk.
Ooh,
it's easy for CM Punk.
Yeah,
just has to take a couple of hard shots.
Yeah, easy, sure.
show his toughness. Have some wrestling. He wrestled great against Taker, but I think giving him an opportunity at a belt would kind of add a little bit of the draw. Who knows? Will they put the strap on him at the Crown Jewel? There's just a lot that he can do. If you want to shoot higher, you could even go Roman Reigns. I'm not saying that it's right for business. I'm not saying that it makes sense storyline wise, but Crown Jewel is, to me, is always like, let's just throw things in the hat, see what happens type of situation. It's a one-off. It's like one of those comic book movie or comic book stories that this is a special issue where none of these storylines are going to be carried over after this event. Let's just sit back and enjoy it. Would the locker room hate the move? Sure. But it's the Crown Jewel, dude. I mean, they have the most whack matches out there. I mean, seeing DX versus the Brothers of Destruction.
Cain Velasquez versus Brock Lesnar. I always joke. Yeah, I always joke that to use an anime term. Are you into anime, Sancho?
Yeah, I'm in briefly.
Okay.
I don't have time to, but
that's all right. You'll understand this.
I respect it.
I always called Saudi Arabia the filler arc. It doesn't. It doesn't matter. It does. You can. Matter. It's not canon. It's not in the manga. It's not canon.
It's CM Punk coming back for 3 weeks or a month before Crown Jewel, having a match Crown Jewel.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, it's still to me wild to make the decision to do the firing before one of their biggest shows of the year in front of a Chicago audience. It shows
you how serious it was, though. It shows you how serious it was.
Yeah, like, a lot of people were calling him dumb, but I'm trying to read between the lines, and to me, it's like it had to have been a terrible situation for him to make that call, knowing that he was going to instantly become the biggest heel in professional wrestling by doing so. So,
did you think it was a work though, in the back of your mind?
No,
because they were leaning that CM Punk would be a heel. Like that would make him the ultimate heel. I thought he would still show up at Chicago. Like that to me, if he did that, if they worked it right, it would be a very cool work in my mind, because like using social media, sending out the statement, and then all of a sudden CM Punk says, "I'm not leaving. I'm the real champion." And then you're like, "Oh!" Then you got some good things to work with for like months and months, where CM Punk just does whatever he wants. But it's a shame that it was real.
Yeah, I think that it is real. If it's a work, if I was a TV,
at first.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, I never thought it was a work. Because first I was like, any TV network exec would be like, what the hell? Why would you tell people that he's not going to be at our shows when we need to we need ratings, we need people to watch, and people want to watch CM Punk. But the fact that this was the second time that this has happened and not the first time, and Tony Khan going as far as saying that his life felt threatened. Granted, I've seen Vince do weirder and worse. Vince is the guy that blew himself up in a limo, okay? But it, like, to me, like, to go out and say that your life is in danger, I feel like that might be a little bit, a little too far to be a work. I don't know.
It's the gorilla position. There's a lot of emotions there, and to happen right during the show, mid-show, and Punk's about to literally go out there, I could see where it's just too much to deal with. And like I said, end of the day, it's a terrible move for the now, but the later you'd be happy.
I agree.
The future AEW would be happy about their decision too.
I think so too. I do think so too. I think everybody's going to come out on top. All right, well, Sancho, let's talk about WWE Payback, the little B show that could, the little B premium live event that everyone's like, a 6-match card. This is just a glorified Raw. There's only one match from SmackDown. I'm going to skip this. To me, turned out to be a very pleasant surprise in terms of the results, the quality of the matches. Every match got plenty of time to be able to breathe. Some matches were better than others, and we'll go through those matches. But your initial pulse on the result of the show and how you feel about it, what did you think overall of Payback?
I did feel that 6 matches, there were matches where they're like, they could have added more stuff. I feel like for a roster as big as WWE, you shouldn't have 6 matches for a PLE. And you could feel that some of the matches were just a little too long. If Rhea and Raquel was a little bit shorter, that would have been a banger, like a really, really great match. Seth Rollins and Nakamura, if it was just a little bit shorter, it would have been a better match. And I just felt like a lot of it felt like a marathon in some instances. I think it's just because I'm not used to these long, letting them cook type of 6 card matches. I felt like we could have had more segments in between. We could have had the Street Profits with, that segment where they had on SmackDown where Lashley came out and talked about the Street Profits. Like, why don't we have that at a PLE? There's so many opportunities to talk about even the New Day. Like, the point I'm trying to make is I felt that the PLE was good. I enjoyed it. There's a couple of issues I have with every single match per se, but at the end of the day, the biggest black eye or the biggest blunder would be the main event. I was not happy with the main event. You got to have a good main event, and I'm just confused on what are they doing with Seth Rollins in general. Like, what is the purpose for him? I know there's rumors that he will have surgery soon. They're going to get the belt off of him, but why give us some great moments of making, oh my goodness, we're going to get a sick Nakamura, Shinsuke, and not doing anything with him. And we'll break down every match as it goes along. But I'm simply saying it was good. It wasn't great. But I think Payback, the main issue that they have is they put themselves in a box because it has to be the Payback from the previous SummerSlam, right? That's the story.
Not necessarily.
Right? Am I right about that?
I was about to jump in on something here because it looks like to me on paper the WWE is changing the way that they do their premium live events, where they are willing to keep men and women off of one particular PLE card to build them for the next one. So let me point this out to you. Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, LA Knight, The Miz, Rey Mysterio, Austin Theory, Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez, and Shinsuke Nakamura. That is the majority of the people on this card did not have a match, one-on-one or tag team at SummerSlam. All of these matches were built alongside parallel to SummerSlam or beyond SummerSlam. Like, for example, the Becky Lynch Trish Stratus match, a lot of people were upset that it was kept off of the SummerSlam card, and I think it ended up being a little bit of a blessing in disguise because it has allowed the feud to build and made us care a little bit more, because because there were a lot of people upset at SummerSlam as well, because why wasn't there a Rhea Ripley match? Why didn't we have Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez? Well, it would have been rushed. This time it actually mattered. There was a story, there was a narrative. So I think we're going to see back and forth PLEs where it has one chunk of the roster and then the next PLE will have another chunk of the roster.
Okay, I hear you. That's a good argument. I feel that the big four of PLEs, SummerSlam should have had those people that you mentioned. It had LA Knight, by the way.
Well, I'm talking like singles matches. You're talking, yeah.
But
like a battle royal. Come on, we're not gonna count. Come on.
I know, but I'm trying to like explain to you what I'm trying to say is what made SummerSlam not great in my eyes was they gave too much. The pacing of both PLEs were wrong. They gave too much time for Roman and the Bloodline, right?
Sure.
That was just oodles of time. Finn Balor solo, we all know that he's going to lose. I'm sorry. Like Finn Balor, I see him out there. He's wrestling. You're going to lose. Granted, he didn't lose that Payback. But we're talking about SummerSlam compared to the Payback. If you had to compare those two, what saved Payback for me was the Pittsburgh, whatever they wanted to call it. That was the only saving grace for me for this pay-per-view, this PLE.
Oh, I think we have very wildly different opinions. Yeah. I think that the pacing towards the end was a little bit iffy, but I think overall from head to toe, this is a more consistent match card and better in-ring action, better result, and honestly just a better in-ring narrative than most of the matches in SummerSlam.
start with match 1.
Yeah, let's start with match 1. Let's start off with the one match that a lot of people were already calling the snooze fest. They were calling Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus in a steel cage match the snooze fest before the match even began. Granted, to give people benefit of the doubt, the storyline, in my opinion, has been a little bit weak. I think that the promos, especially when Trish Stratus gets on the mic, can be a little bit too drawn out and they don't really get to the point. Funnily enough, the best person on the mic during that feud was Zoe Stark, and she wasn't even one of the main players there. Additionally, the matches that they had leading up to this match had left something to be desired. And then on top of that, the go-home episode of Monday Night Raw had Becky Lynch versus Zoe Stark putting on an absolute banger of a Falls Count Anywhere match. So it left a lot of us thinking there's no way that they can top that. And then you're adding a cage, which in theory for many matches is very constrictive and doesn't allow for a good match flow.
Unless you're like a high flyer. Unless you're a high flyer.
And neither of them are. Neither of them are. And in my opinion, they torched the house down. My only complaint about this match was that the whole reason they had a cage in the first place, Sancho, was to keep Zoe Stark out, and they still managed to get Zoe Stark in there, which is...
Oh, come on. You know, there's always going to be shenanigans in the cage, dude.
Sure.
Remember when Undertaker popped out of nowhere? Come on.
Yeah, I know. The quick side rail. I know this is we're going a little bit off topic. I still remember Kane. You weren't watching wrestling, so it was Kane versus JBL. Big Show JBL for the WWE Championship. Yeah. Big Show choke slam JBL from the top of the cage, goes through the ring. All right. The Big Show walks out of the cage, which I still think it's dumb that they let them go through the door. Anyways, he's about to step foot through and he comes out, he's celebrating, only to find out that JBL went through the ring and crawled under the ring to win the match. Anyways, yes, you're right.
Sells a choke slam through the...
No, he didn't no sell it. He was just like crawling and dying.
Like, okay, shouldn't you be dead? I mean, Foley went out of the ring, didn't move. Had to take out a gurney for a bit.
True.
Lost
Anyways,
a tooth for crying out loud. Come on, JBL.
So you're right. There are pretty constant shenanigans in cage matches. Always. But that's it. That's my nitpick, because aside from that, I think that the ladies absolutely cooked in the ring. We had spots that I never in a million years would have guessed somebody the age and the status of Trish Stratus to be willing to still do. Yes. Like, for example, doing the hanging off the legs upside down and then the superplex off the top of the cage. Those are all spots that I would have never in a million years envisioned this match to have. There were some really cool callbacks that I'm not sure if maybe you picked up on. The Widow's Peak, the Twist of Fate. So I just thought that the in-ring action was good, the match narrative was good, and I walked out pleasantly surprised with this match.
I think that it's on the WWE for not really making this match more hype. You had... It literally could have been Icon versus Icon all over again. I mean, they kind of talked about it a little bit, how Becky Lynch is their era, Trish Stratus her era. They really could have leaned into that a little bit more, like a Hogan Rock. It could have been that kind of thing. They leaned too hard on like the thank you, Trish. Like that could have been, that wasn't hitting for me or anybody. But Becky Lynch definitely just shows you her prowess in the ring, and she's a great performer still. You talked about that Raw episode, phenomenal. I like this match a lot. It really got going. Started off slow, but it really got going, especially when they hit their I'm not going to try to use the word spots, but the moment where they went off the cage, that was great. And I like that there was shenanigans, but it didn't involve the finish. And that is always important to me, that the finish almost has to be a little clean. My biggest gripe, though, in cage matches in this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when I watch wrestling, cage matches, there was no pins or submissions. It was all about whoever walked out the door or went over the top.
It's been going on for it's been going on as far as I know since I've started watching in 2002. They've allowed for pinfalls and submissions.
Granted, I know when it comes to like ladder matches, how much can they fumble with the briefcase at the top and they climb ladders slow. I get all that by the time, but I'm a sucker for traditional stuff.
For sure.
If you're gonna be a tag match, hold on to the rope. I don't mind AEW tag matches, but who's the legal man? That's what I want to know. So when it comes to a cage match, I thought it would have been a much more dramatic to see someone. It's always that drama is like the face is struggling to get out.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they
yeah.
hit their move and they're just like climbing out and they fall to the floor exhausted and they ding, ding, ding. Like that to me is what I love about cage matches. But grade A match, I enjoy it. And for like this match, SummerSlam, banger matches right out the gate. Banger matches.
Absolutely. So thumbs up, both of us from this match. All right.
Absolutely.
I'll let you take the reins on this one because you're the big LA Knight guy, even though I'm the one wearing the shirt. Yeah. We have LA Knight versus The Miz with John Cena as the special guest referee. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because I have some perspectives here, especially on John Cena's involvement. I'd love to hear where you stand on this.
Well. For those who don't know, Santi and I had like a dark podcast, like a dark match podcast about LA Knight.
I like that, a dark match podcast.
Yeah, we literally had one where I think that kind of convinced Santi like maybe we should do this together. We talked about how LA Knight, just to catch you up to that, LA Knight, I feel, should have never been fed to The Miz because The Miz has a tendency to bury people on accident or maybe on purpose, but most likely on accident just because how good The Miz is. And I feel that the WWE we're now understanding that, oh my God, he's our top seller in t-shirts. We need to start pushing this guy. And I think they rushed it too fast by giving him The Miz. This man literally won a battle royale, which meant absolutely nothing, just to give LA Knight an opportunity, a win, straight into The Miz, which is the buzzsaw of anyone that's climbing the charts. And I felt they did it wrong, and it showed a lot of holes in LA Knight's game that I feel that were unnecessary to show because whatever he was doing was working. Why trying to make him a diamond right now when he is cooking as a coal, Let that man do his thing and let him reach what he needed to do. So that was my problem initially with this feud. Sure, we want to see can LA Knight handle a promo, cut a promo against someone else that's just irritating him, annoying him without using catchphrases too much. We did see in the go home, he struggled and called out Miz's wife, which I thought was unnecessary and too old school.
Yeah. It was hokey. It was
too hokey because it landed like a wet fart. Yeah. Everyone was like, what?
No, that to me is like you're losing the argument and you're trying to go somewhere to try and dig yourself out. And I saw right through it.
And Miz didn't really... I'm happy Miz just went, whatever, right? He kind of blew it back. Yeah. Okay, so that's all the buildup. My thing about this match, and I know you're the biggest John Cena fan, and I asked you this question in that dark podcast, or one of them, was why do we have John Cena now? What is they're going to do for John Cena for these couple of months? I feel that John Cena is coming in when SmackDown doesn't necessarily need John Cena. It has this bloodline. It has LA Knight. It has so many good things for him that adding John Cena, I feel, is overkill. I love John Cena. He follows me on Twitter, by the way. I don't know if he follows you, son.
He doesn't, even though he follows 500,000 people. He doesn't follow me, the biggest John Cena fan. Okay, so what are your thoughts so far on his involvement here?
So I feel he's unnecessary, and I think it's overshadowing LA Knight. I know it's giving him a big challenge to step up to him, but his involvement at Payback felt weird. It felt like it was not letting LA Knight. We didn't even let LA Knight talk on Payback, bro. Mm-hmm. We had The Miz and John Cena cut a promo, Miz showing off that he still has it and he still could go toe-to-toe with John, them cutting jokes, and LA Knight coming out to no promo.
It would have been nice to have all three of them, huh?
That
would have been all nice.
If I went and spent top dollar, right? If I spent top money to go see LA Knight and a PLE with a match against The Miz, and the man doesn't talk, he doesn't get to say his things that I've been wanting to say for months, that was upsetting to me. I felt that was a bad call not to have LA Knight do his thing, to have LA Knight come out there, and I get the whole thing of like, ooh, aren't they going to fight with Cena? Cena is a referee, which reminds me of the days when Shawn Michaels used a special guest referee, kind of involved with a match, kind of being a wrestler involved. It was very cinematic in the way they showed their facial, a lot of the great cuts, like they kind of planned it out very well to show us the story and possibly show us the future match with LA Knight. The biggest problem I have Santi, and he doesn't need John Cena's approval. He doesn't need a handshake from John Cena. He doesn't need the respect from John Cena. He doesn't need it because you know why, Santi? This man has done it on his own for the longest time. He doesn't need it.
You're not understanding. You're not understanding. You're not understanding this. You're not understanding this. All right. Let me explain to you.
You're gonna tell me a handshake means a lot in this business?
Listen.
Remember when The Rock came out and held up Roman's hand and pointed to him, and everybody was like, that. The same feeling I got.
No way. No, not even close. Not even close. And look, and even if we're using that example of Roman Reigns getting his hand raised by The Rock, even if that didn't land with the fans, because it didn't land with the fans. It's not about it landing with the fans. That, Sancho, was a full vote of confidence from the WWE to say Roman is our guy. Cena raising his hand he doesn't need it. I'm not disagreeing. It is a vote of confidence that for me as an LA Knight fan allows me to breathe a little bit easier, that there isn't this like crazy heat backstage that we hear all the time about LA Knight and not getting along with people. If WWE was willing to let their biggest WWE superstar of all time give his acknowledgement of LA Knight, even if you thought it was cringe, even if it didn't land with the fans, that's good for LA Knight at the very minimum on a backstage and politics basis, because he's got that. He didn't need it. You're not wrong, but he's got it. And the fact that he got it is, to me, the WWE giving him a high five saying like, hey, we see it in you. We're not going to keep you in the back burner anymore. We were wrong with having you as Max Dupree. Here is our acknowledgement that LA Knight, you are one of our guys. Go ahead, Sancho.
For sure. No, I was doing acknowledgement.
Oh, acknowledgement.
For sure. For sure. Like,
so
no, I get that.
For sure. One thing that I want to talk about is John Cena's involvement in the actual match itself, and why I think we differ here, and why I think it was super important to have John Cena in this match. Having John Cena in this match allowed the WWE to help mask the fact that this wasn't a good match. Because it was never going to be a good match. It was never going to be a 5 out of 5 Tokyo Dome, Dave Meltzer, 7 stars, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay type of match. It was never going to be that. But John,
I know that. I was gonna say, yeah, I know that, but LA Knight doesn't need to have a banger match right now like that. He just needs to win. That's it.
I disagree. I don't think that he needs to have a banger match. I think he needs to have a good show. And John Cena adds to the show aspect of things, because LA Knight is never going to have a good match, but he needs to put on a good show. And John Cena's involvement allowed the WWE to mask the fact that this wasn't going to be a great match in ring. And it allowed LA Knight to play his character more in the ring, as opposed to only doing wrestling moves. Because then we had, like you said, that face off, that conversation with Cena in the ring. It allowed LA Knight to be LA Knight, the character in the ring, as opposed to just that guy doing grappling moves, getting the 1, 2, 3. What do you think? What do you think?
I just think that WWE is overthinking it. Okay, everyone, this is what LA Knight was doing after Bray, right? He come out, I want to win this belt, lose, right? Cut a promo about winning. I want the United States Championship belt. I should be next in line, lose. I'm going to do this, lose. I'm better than you, lose. Ray, you're a deadbeat dad, lose, right? That's what he was doing. All they have to do is just, instead of letting him lose, just letting him win. And that's what I mean. They overcomplicating him with Cena. Because now people are going to be like, whoa, who's his next feud? Is he fighting Cena? Him and Cena gonna cross?
But that's good. That's a good thing that people are. Yes, it is. People are talking and wondering and asking questions.
Near Cena.
No, I'm not saying it needs to be Cena. I'm saying at least people are talking about what's next for LA Knight.
We're already talking about him. With everybody saying LA Knight, right? They're already talking about him. He's the dude. The dude he was losing and doing nothing, and he had the top t-shirt sell. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, this guy was already cooking. What was happening is the internet and everybody started going, wait a minute. there's something wrong here. This picture doesn't look right, is when Miz started saying it. Everyone had this feeling that that LA Knight was just a catchphrase. Everyone's saying that he's just, maybe he could be a fat, like that's what the internet was saying, right? We were just wondering. And then the WWE, with the vote of confidence of the Miz, confirmed our suspicions. And this, you thought, okay, LA Knight, this is your time to overcome all that. You're going to go against the Miz. You're going to have be in the ring with John Cena. But for me, it's just they're complicating the recipe of LA Knight, bro. He doesn't need all that. He was doing what he was doing without it. And I felt it was just an overproduced match for LA Knight.
It needed to be overproduced.
All I needed him was to win, bro. Don't slip. Don't fall and win. That's it. That's all I want for him.
I don't think so.
With time, he would get better, and with time, he would find his way. But I think I feel as fans, we're putting too much into his rise. Just let him be and let him do his thing. Don't expose too much too soon, and he'll be fine.
I don't think that he is good enough in the ring to be fine and coast through with just winning a match here or there. I think you put on enough sleeper matches, people are going to stop caring.
No, there's no shot. There's no shot because he is comedic enough to do things in the ring. His promo work and impact and all the previous work of him segments of the dummy button, all that kind of stuff. He is very creative if you let him be creative. The thing is, what the problem is like people are like they're trying to put him in a box that he's a throwback to Attitude, that he's Stone Cold and The Rock. So let him like. I'm just saying because like I love the Attitude Era, but wrestling back then wasn't about having these crazy 5-star matches. It was just about entertaining fans with some good solid wrestling and some chaotic finishes. And I think that's what LA Knight is. He's a throwback to that because he doesn't need to do anything else. I mean, remember, Stone Cold broke his neck, turned into a brawler. That dude did not have a million moves at the end of the day, but he was charismatic, he was engaging, and yes, he was Stone Cold, so he got a lot of passes. But remember when Stone Cold didn't wrestle and he would just pop up out of nowhere and cause chaos with the what? And then he was a commissioner? That could be LA Knight. Like, that would be a fine journey for him.
It'd be a fine journey if he just became the biggest WWE superstar of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah, that's a fine journey. That's a fine journey.
Oh, I'm just saying that I think that LA Knight could find his own niche because he's such a unique, charismatic persona that he doesn't need to be. Does he need the gold to make him great? Maybe he needs an Intercontinental Championship for him to run around with. But I'm just trying to say that I think a lot of people are trying to rush LA Knight too fast.
That is true. What I will tell you is there's been plenty of people with great charisma, great promo abilities that have been tossed aside. Look, there was somebody that got so incredibly over by himself and pioneered the concept of social media and wrestling in Zack Ryder, and he got absolutely buried to Kingdom Come. You know what? I'm now realizing that's the worst example because he also got the Cena rub, and then he ended up going nowhere. Because I was about to tell you that, hey, you know what? Like, the vote of confidence of Cena tells me that the WWE isn't going to Zack Ryder this guy, but then, you know, Cena gave Zack Ryder the Cena rub and it didn't work. So
I love John Cena too. But give me someone who was given John Cena the vote of confidence that he's actually did something with that.
Are you serious?
I just give me one.
Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins.
Did AJ Styles need the Cena though?
Absolutely, he did. 100%. An independent guy that no one knew, that the wider WWE universe didn't know, coming into the WWE, getting put over twice in a row by John Cena. Absolutely, he needed it.
How did Cena do that though?
Through in-ring work, through his job,
wrestling them, right? So why couldn't they do that with? Hopefully, they do that with LA Knight. But
yeah, but Cena's 1,000 years old now. We're not comparing the same thing anymore.
I know. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This that's why involve Cena in that? Like, Cena was just not as.
I'm just glad you agree with me.
Let's put a pin in this, right?
Sure.
This would be a great conversation
100%.
because we're going to be having this podcast throughout the Cena run on SmackDown, which I think is unnecessary.
Shh, you shut your filthy mouth and you take that back. Walk out that door and never come back, Sancho. Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory for the United States Championship. This was kind of just like, It was like you're doing thumbs down, but I don't. Here's the thing. I thought it was fine. I just didn't care. It was like, okay, cool. Like, this is a great SmackDown match. What is this doing here? I was willing to, okay, let's play this out. Is there going to be the next story beat? Is there, like, give me the story beat. But we ended up just getting the match, which is something they could have easily done on SmackDown. So I make the argument of, okay, let's go all out and make this a Raw pay-per-view and put Gunther versus Chatty Daddy in there instead of this, because I figured, hey, if they're putting this in here, they're gonna give us the next story beat of the LWO. Whether it was the full-blown heel turn, whether it was maybe Santos just staring at the title, you know, telling us, all right, now we're going
maybe Santos eating a bowl of cinnamon toast crunch while he's looking at the title.
But like nothing. There was no next thing for us to sink our teeth into. So ultimately, this felt like we were biting a cloud. There was no substance in there. There was nothing.
Well, it's interesting. I know I have a problem with the overproduction of LA Knight and Cena. I feel like a lot of the matches in this card could have used a little bit more. Like, they could have used Waller here somewhere to just build that relationship with A-Town and Waller, right? There's so many things that they could have built, like you talk about LWO. I agree with this. I feel that as much as I love Rey, and Rey's still a solid worker in the ring.
He looked great that match.
He looked great in the ring. I love this attire and everything. I just feel that Rey is not accomplishing what he's supposed to be doing with the LWO. His job is to give light to all those wrestlers in that stable. And you still say, and I've heard you say this, like, who is this dude? Who is that dude?
Yeah.
That Kevin Owens and Sammy wrestled.
His hat is more recognizable. I'm like, that's the Kung Lao hat from Mortal Kombat. I don't know your name though.
So that's the problem with factions, is that that's why Vince didn't like factions too much, because they get too big and you lose identity of a lot of people, or I don't know what Vince thinks, but the point is that LWO is and I've met Selena, I met her. She's very nice person. I had a nice conversation with her at the Street Fighter party a long time ago when that launched. I love what they're doing as individuals, but I feel as a faction, they don't have an identity. And it's the same because, you know, I'm a Mexican American, and that's what we're supposed to latch on to, that type of thing. And Lord knows WWE has stereotyped factions that were worse for my people. And the LWO should be celebrated. But this match, I agree with you. The biggest sin that you could have in PLE is not have any launching points or ending points.
Yes, that's it. 100%. You said it, because this was an ending point, I think, but an ending point to a story that really properly wasn't even built in the first place. So it's kind of, it's a dead end. That's all it was. It was a dead end. And I figured, with it being a dead end match, a match where I'm like, I don't care which one of you wins, what's next? This is where you give me the what's next, and they didn't do that. And even though it was a totally fine match, if I'm just there to see the technical work, it was good. But that's not what we're only there to see.
What happened to this ruthless Austin Theory that they were doing? Did they drop that? Remember? He came back and he was like super aggressive. That's one thing. Like, if you're gonna have this kind of match, give me something new so that way I could latch onto for the next time I see.
Yeah, I think we're back to kind of like goofy. Yeah, because he had that thing with Pretty Deadly. Now he's I guess I would love for him to team up with Grayson Waller and create A-Town Down Under. That'd be great.
Why didn't Waller come out and try to interfere? Yeah. Why did Santos, I don't know.
Yeah, they could have done a ton of things to give intrigue to this, aside from it just being a good SmackDown match. That's all. All right, let's go to what many people are pegging as a match of the night, me included, because I had a tremendous amount of fun during this match. We have champions, or ex-champions, I should say, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defending their championships against the Judgment Day members Finn Balor and Damian Priest for the WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championships in a Steel City Street Fight. I ran with the last match, so I'll let you run with this one first. Initial thoughts. What did you think of this?
At first, I was worried because I'm never a fan of arena matches because they could be too wild and the pacing could be wrong, but this was paced nicely, had some nice tip of the hats to the city of Pittsburgh, to hockey, things of that sort. That was really fun as well. The match,
sorry, 1 second, Sancho. That hockey homage, two Canadians would never do that. They would never put on a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey. No. Two Canadian fans? No way.
I was hoping they'd do the shirts over the thing.
That'd be sick.
Gloves,
yeah, that'd be sick. Yeah. All right, sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No. So that was always my worry. Is like you need to have a very focused when you have an arena match. If they started and they went right to the outside of the ring, I was like, oh no, we're not gonna have any ring work right out the gate. But I think they did well. I know people who don't like the Judgment Day, don't like Dirty Dom coming in. It's like by the book. Judgment Day, Dom's gonna show up, Rhea's gonna show up, right? But I felt like they were used in a perfect way. Dom taking that swanton by Kevin Owens was wild. Kevin Owens, you're a wild man. I think it was a great way to say goodbye to Sammy and KO for a while, in a way, or KO mainly. It showed Sammy was strong at the end. He was able to almost beat Judgment Day by himself by avoiding the Razor's Edge into the coup de grace. And that would look very awesome. And that whole sequence was very paced well. And Kevin Owens, being just the G that he is, showing that he could still work anything. I think my favorite Kevin Owens match still is Stone Cold at WrestleMania. That was showing you how great of a worker. And Kevin Owens can't do any wrong, right? Kevin Owens is always reliable. At the end of the day, the right call was made. You got to get the belts off of KO and Sammy if they're not going to wrestle as tag teams. Finn Balor finally getting a win. I thought the best moment in the match for me, the comical moment, was he's getting hit by the trash can and the kendo sticks. I was like, yeah, that's what Finn Balor gets treated like now. Every time there's a match, he's going to take the L. I thought it was a great thing. I think Judgment Day needed those gold. They need to be glittered in gold. And I think they needed the belts more than ever. The only thing that I felt that was weird is like, I've never seen a faction with so much gold and the money in the bank, which doesn't bode well for Damian, or it doesn't bode well for anyone, or for him cashing in at all. And it's a weird hiccup. Now it's a weird wrinkle to have everything for Judgment Day when this entire time they were losing on TV so many days in a row. The briefcase was the canary in the coal mine for this faction breaking up. I mean, poor Finn Balor, would get his head hit so many times by that briefcase. And to see them win, awesome, great call. But I think this match killed the crowd after that. There was nothing. The pyro, the celebration, we love the heels, which is a Triple H thing, heels rule type of thing. And the crowd was dead throughout the whole entire night afterwards because it was such a good match. It definitely is my match of the night.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, there were rumors going into the show that this was going to be the main event. And if those were original rumors, maybe original scripts that were leaked, I could see why. I can absolutely see why this was maybe potentially rumored to be the main event. It went the length of a main event. It had the craziness of a main event. It had the ending presentation of a main event with the pyro. Yes. Yeah. The crazy false finishes. One of the, I guess, the gripes that people are voicing about this match is that, well, it just turned into a 5-on-2. Here, it's just like a Roman Reigns match. No. You don't understand. Even when it turns into a 5-on-2, Finn Balor finds a way to lose. That's what I'm saying. That he's always found the way to lose. It didn't matter. That's why the end result was so, even if it was a 5v2, shocking that they won. And what a pleasant surprise to take the tag titles off of, unfortunately, two guys that weren't able to really get off the ground as tag team champions. But I hope this means that now we're going to have the tag titles really represent the tag team division a little bit more, because the tag team division on both Raw and SmackDown are stacked, and they've had nothing to really go after aside from kind of just like meaningless feuds like Drew McIntyre. Like that guy from the Viking Raiders pushed me, so now we have a match, right? Like there's no stakes right now in the tag team division. Hopefully this allows there to be some room for the tag team division to truly flourish. But I thought the match was great. I've been calling it a beautiful car wreck. I thought that the narrative that it told was such a great story. In the in between, like the table spots, the crazy swanton from 2 stories up, the Kevin Owens turning into Kevin Moxley and Kevin Hardy all in the same match. Like, man, like you said, Kevin Owens MVP of that match in terms of just some of like the crazy gruesome things that he did. And I love the finish of the false finish with JD McDonough stopping the pin, then leading into a Rhea Ripley spear from out of nowhere, then Dominic Mysterio with the briefcase. It just seemed like for the first time in weeks, Judgment Day clicked. I had, and it was something that it wasn't on my bingo card, dude. I was certain that the Judgment Day was not winning this.
I feel that the problem with Judgment Day in their game is their promo work. They're not there yet as a faction. You know, Damien's growing, getting better on the mic. Rhea is less is more for her right now. And I just did not like the direction they were going with Rhea, trying to put the boys together in their place. It didn't really work. It was awkward at times because it's a weird thing to do. Like, Judgment Day is at its best when everyone has a clear role. Finn Balor's the leader, Rhea Ripley's the mommy, Dirty Dom is just the heel that everyone hates and boos out the building, and Damien's the muscle, right? For me, that's the best. And then they started experimenting. Oh no, let's let Damien talk a little bit more, or let's let Rhea be the leader, or they let Dom the same. Okay, see what I mean? Like,
no. I've been saying that Dom is the gimp from Pulp Fiction. That's his role.
It works. He works really well. And yes, it's a samey with Judgment Day always involving everybody. But at the end of the day, the faces look great. Sammy looked great. KO looked great. They almost had it. And it just, for the part of the business, the belts need to be off of them. I just wish, I don't like undisputed tag team belts. There's too many tag teams on both shows that need to be fighting for something. And I feel they need to separate those belts. I do see, since Judgment Day seems very nomadic, they pop up on NXT, they pop up on, they're everywhere. I would love to see Finn. I would love to see this be like a New Day situation where any of the three could defend the belts.
The Freebird rule, yeah.
Right. I don't want to see Finn and Damien be a tag team. I would love to see Damien and Dom be a tag team, or Dom and Finn. Like, I think that would be fun, because then there's a dynamic that it leaves the room open for one of them to take the fall, and the belts get pulled off of one of the belts that get pulled off of New Day. Judgment Day. I think that would be awesome if SmackDown gets it, or what are they on, Raw, right? Yes, they're on Raw. They should drop the belts to SmackDown, and that tag team division could grow.
For sure. So thumbs up?
Absolutely.
Thumbs up.
That saved the show for me, because I was so upset about LA Knight.
Wait. We don't open this wound again. All right, I'm still mad at you. I'm still upset at you. I'm still upset at you over this.
Is why no one wants they both agree wrestling show. They don't want that.
All right, we'll do this one really quick. Grayson Waller effect with Cody Rhodes. I thought this was weird because Cody Rhodes was the guest, only for him to come out and say, "I'm not the guest." Psych, it's Jey Uso. So Jey Uso comes out, new entrance theme, kind of a new look as well with the
is it like it's just me, Uso?
So now we have Jey Uso on Raw. I think really the only interesting thing about this is, because I mean it's a joke, like the whole, like people are already clowning the fact, like the whole he quit the WWE and is back in 2 weeks anyways. We don't have to dig into that. But I think what's interesting about this is that we now have our way for our strings have attached of how we get Cody Rhodes back with Roman Reigns. It's there.
Oh, for sure.
It's there. It's now we have the narrative in place. I wouldn't be surprised if Survivor Series War Games is Team Jay versus Team Jimmy, and it's going to involve Cody Rhodes, most likely Solo Sikoa. I'm not sure if it would involve Roman, but I'm already seeing it, and I like it. I don't know if this needed to be on Payback necessarily. I think this could have been on Raw, but hey, I'm just happy that we got Jey Uso back. It also means Jey Uso and Sami Zayn back on the same show. That's gonna be fun.
That's what I mean. I think KO goes off TV for a bit, gives Sami an opportunity to get back into the bloodline in some sort of way, because that was just too good to let go. I mean, that's a story that should go on forever. Him and Jay.
Yeah, the honorary use stuff is too good. We'll leave that one because we can jump into the matches.
It's just me. Hey, I have to say, Jimmy has the better theme.
Oh, 100%. It's not even close.
Fire.
I'm waiting for the Raw version without any crowd sound to be released, because that's going right in the workout playlist. I think it's such it's such a banger theme. All right.
Not with my brother, just me.
Well, I mean, when you point out the lyrics like that, then yeah, it's kind of silly. It sounds cool when he's singing it, but when you do it like that, it sounds lame as hell.
Just me.
Just me.
I'm not solo. I'm really solo. Just me.
Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez for the Women's World Championship.
This was a good match.
You liked it. You liked it.
I liked it a lot.
Okay, you go with it because I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. So I have less things to say than you probably do.
They showed that they could really work, man. They were doing some awesome things. I liked it a lot. I know the crowd was dead for it, and I know a lot of people at home were dead for it, especially coming after the match that you just talked about, the Steel City. But they work well, man. Their chemistry together reminds me of a lot of old school wrestling, and you know, kind of just they're just like titans together, and they had some good hits, and they were trading blows. I just think their only downfall was just they were given too much time. If they were given less time, it would have made everything matter a little bit more. And it wasn't sloppy for the wrong reasons because they were just going at it, man. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was Raquel's a great feud for Rhea.
I agree.
It's just like Charlotte and Rhea, you know. You always need someone that could be your mirror match, and Raquel has that strength, the clotheslines, there's just the physicalness of both of them. And I never had this view as someone who watches wrestling. I don't care if the women don't hit the ropes hard enough or they don't have that same thud sound when they hit the mat, but they have that kind of that brought a little something extra to it. And I love their feud. I think there was more. I wish that Rhea would have sold the shoulder a little bit more because she literally speared KO.
That's right. Yeah.
I thought they would sell that, and that to me, I thought, oh, Rhea might lose. Because Raquel, like, that's my thing about wrestling is I wish Raquel should have been like, oh, you hit your shoulder. I'm going to work your shoulder and make Rhea work through that as a champion and the will of the champion. I thought they were going to do that, and they didn't. But like I said, my only gripe about it was that they were just given too much time.
Yeah, what you suggested there usually is not something that they do against heels. That's usually something like the good guy goes through that adversity.
But she's a face. Let's admit it.
We want to like her for sure. Narratively, exactly. She's not.
Exactly. And I think Raquel has a future, and she had the Eddie Flames going in her ring attire. I just think that, man. I just wish this match was somewhere else on the card. Like it should have been. It
was in the death spot, right? Like right before the main event. It was and like to be right after that car wreck of the tag titles match. Like that is a tough spot to be in.
Should have been like before it. Like the car wreck should have been
swap Ray and Rhea. Those matches, and I think you've got the right pacing.
Right, but I think they wanted to give Rhea some time to rest because she literally was doing her thing before. Yeah. But they should have put the Waller effect to have that moment of Jay in between the main event and Steel City.
That's right.
I'm
with you. You know, you mentioned the length of the match, and I agree, but it's this double-edged sword because I do think that it was long, and I think it would have benefited from being a 10-minute match. But the complaint around the WWE universe is that Rhea Ripley doesn't get any long matches, that the women aren't getting enough time in the ring.
I get that.
Yeah.
The way you see how physical they were, I understood. They were gassed, dude.
Because this has been easily the longest Rhea Ripley match that we've had. I think weirdly, man.
Tyson.
What's that?
Like Mike Tyson.
Yeah, sure.
Mike Tyson never went the distance, but when he does go the distance, it's serious. But I just don't think that if it was just a round or two shorter.
I agree. I think this would have benefited from being 10 minutes, but then again, it's like we would have opened up
more matches then. Like I would have been fine with like a 7-round match with her. Like, dude, I could watch those ladies wrestle for the wrestling purposes. I could literally watch them wrestle for 7 matches, like a 7-match series with Raquel. That'd be amazing for Rhea.
Yeah,
because then you could just have short banger matches, and then the payoff, the blow off match at the very end, number 7 at a PLE. I'm ready for that.
Sure. And ultimately, like I didn't think it was a bad match. I think I was also just fatigued, just like the rest of the audience was. I'm more fatigued likely than the average wrestling fan watching from home because I'm doing a watch along. I'm like trying to be entertaining, but at that point I was pretty gassed, but I'm not going to sit here and say that the match is bad because it wasn't. I just think it was a little bit long. I think that there's still a lot more meat on the bone to tell more of this story. Let's not forget that we also have Liv Morgan in the wings, who is very much part of this story. And we're definitely going to be seeing them for a few months because they already did what I've been calling here for a couple of weeks, which is it's so clear to me that it's going to be Rhea versus Becky at WrestleMania. So let's find a way to get Becky away from Rhea now that her feud with Trish Stratus is over. And it looks like Becky's going to be doing some NXT stuff, which is great, which leaves obviously Rhea Ripley open to do a lot more work with Raquel, Liv Morgan, and hopefully some of the other, hopefully some of the other women in the Raw roster.
That match, Rhea versus Raquel, was better than Gunther and Drew.
Gunther and Drew at WrestleMania? At SummerSlam. Okay. I mean, that's an interesting wrong opinion, but
that's my thought.
Okay.
Gunther and Drew are boring.
It wasn't that. Yeah. You know what? Now you're making me think, because that was my biggest disappointment of all of SummerSlam. But I didn't think that match was bad. But I also don't think this match was bad either.
They had a Raw match at SummerSlam. That's what Gunther and Drew had.
Okay. All right, so let's go into the main event here. Seth freaking Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the World Heavyweight Championship. And Sancho, to me, here's the thing. My biggest disappointment of the night, but I didn't think it was a bad match. I just think that it should have been so much better. So I'll tell you where my problems are with this match. I think it starts with Nakamura and his inability to perform at the highest level when he finally gets the opportunity to get the limelight. He did this at WrestleMania versus AJ Styles. Everyone was disappointed with the match. SummerSlam versus Jinder Mahal, that's his moment. Everyone was disappointed with that match. Not his fault, sure. But Nakamura has not been able to bring that NXT Black and Gold instant banger main event that he used to have on a regular basis. He has not been able to bring that to the main roster, especially not in moments that matter. And the thing is that it was set up perfectly for him. That anime Yakuza boss vibe video entrance that he got was brilliant. I've been saying that the WWE has absolutely knocked it out of the park with hiding Shinsuke's inability to really cut an English promo that connects with the audience, and they've hid him behind these video packages, and they've done a brilliant job of getting us to care about Shinsuke Nakamura again. So much so that one of the sticking points of Seth Rollins' promo leading up to this was that no one sings the Nakamura entrance theme. What happened when Nakamura came out? People were singing his entrance theme for the first time in a long time. So Nakamura matters again. But this match, I was bored by it for the most part. And the thing is like, you know, if I sat here and told you, well, I was just so bored with how slow and how much he was attacking the back. I didn't even think the back came in into too much play here. I feel like they needed to do more of attacking the back. I feel like there wasn't enough of it, because if I got my way with this, Nakamura loses, but he was the only one to walk out of there. I wanted to see that visual of Nakamura lost the battle, but may have won the war by destroying Seth Rollins' back. And I wasn't convinced that he did any extra damage to the back, considering that was the whole story. And now it sounds like I'm putting all this on Nakamura. I think it also goes on Rollins as well. I don't think that was his best match. I don't think that was his A game. Like, if I had to grade this match, this is a B. This is a B, but Nakamura and Rollins at a B should never be at a B. This should be A+. And when you don't give me A+ when you have those two guys, I'm upset. And I'm disappointed. It sounds like you might be giving this match a C. It sounds like I might be overrating it in your eyes. But I to me, it was just average.
That's the problem with this kind of thing, man. It's a C match because it should be a B to A match, right? It's like, wait a minute, these two are great wrestlers and they're not putting on a banger match. Oh, C. That's how much hype this thing had behind it. I think this needed more of what you're talking about. I needed to see a nastier Nakamura that we've seen, the King of Strong style. Mm-hmm. I wanted to see him beat the living daylights out of that back. To so much so where he's stepping on it, where he's stretching it, where he's submission holds, backbreakers. Like, if he literally Brock Lesnar and did 1,000 backbreakers, that would have been sick. I would have been like, oh my God, another backbreaker. This is disgusting. I'm worried now that Seth is going to lose his back here. I needed to see him use the edge of the ring, use the steps, use more of the environment. That's what I was hoping for, was that Nakamura was going to be ruthless, but he fell into regular vanilla Nakamura.
Yeah, that was Monday Night Raw Nakamura.
When I saw Nakamura's outfit, I was like, ooh, he got a gi on. He's looking awesome. He's looking really slick. And then he pulled off the gi to show the one suit that you always kind of wear. I was like, oh no, we're not going to get a different kind of Nakamura. This was an opportunity for Nakamura to be completely different, to have a different style of character, of way he moved in the ring. But he fell back to post WrestleMania Nakamura or Nakamura that appeared on Saturday nights or Sunday, right? House show Nakamura type of vibe. And I think it's more of a fact that the biggest failure is that Seth Rollins is supposed to be a fighting champion, but I never feel that he's going to lose. There's no one that they've been giving him that it's like, oh, this might be the place where Seth loses about. And I thought this was the time. I was like, okay, they're really building up this backstory. Commentary cannot stop saying Seth's back every 5 seconds. Michael Cole and Corey just talking about his back, but the action was not matching the intensity of the commentary.
Yeah.
The whole package, the video package, Nakamura saying like he has this tattoo on his back that talks about it, this and that. All that made it seem like it was dire straits. It made it seem like Daniel Bryan in his head injury. That's what I was getting from this promo, these type of packages. And the in-ring action never supported to the build-up at all. And it was one of those things like, we're still exhausted from the Steel City. And what pay-per-views, like I said, PLEs say, where does these guys go from here? Nakamura goes nowhere. The Nakamura train, the bullet train for Nakamura goes nowhere here. And that is the shame for him, because that dude was going to be something amazing. And I thought, give him the belt, let him be a heel, let him be nasty, let him be ruthless again, and give him wrestlers that have physical ailments from the past. And that's his whole gimmick, is I'm going to test you. And I literally thought, Santi, that he was, God rest his soul, rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. But what made Bray so interesting to me was that he found a weakness in your psyche, and he poked at that, right? I thought Nakamura was going to find your weakness in your body and attack that to test your mental strength. And I thought what they were going to do with him, which, let it be, wrestling fans always come up with something more interesting. I thought they were going to feed Nakamura people to see, okay, you have a bad knee. Let's feed you Nakamura to test your will and see if you really want to be a champion. And I thought that's what was going to be Seth's thing, because I thought Seth was going to grow from this moment and show us that he loves to be the champion. Because right now, much as I love Seth Rollins' past work, I'm not a fan of this version, the visionary Seth Rollins. It's too aimless sometimes in his heat, in his anger, in his point of view. It was so good when he was what's the guy?
The Messiah?
No, when he was going against the Bro, what's his name? It's slipping my mind right now.
Matt Riddle.
Riddles, thank you. Sorry. When he had that promo against Riddle, and that felt real, and he was like, "Come find me, bro." That's my favorite version of Seth, right there. And he's like, "I'm right here. Like, I'm not afraid of you." That's the Seth that he should be, not this Nakamura-ish Seth Rollins.
I think you really hit it on the head. We're agreeing. Can you believe we're agreeing on something? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I wholly agree with you. Yeah. All right, now shush. Okay. I entirely agree with you. I thought that the commentary was weird for this, like you said, like it didn't fit what was happening in the ring. And the other thing, I got to the point that by the end of the match, I was like, I really, really hope that this is not where Damian cashes in, because if I'm supposed to be buying the story that Seth is incapable of moving and walking because of the back injury, I'm taken out of it, because I don't think that he is. I just don't think that the match had that brutality that really that should have been there with the storyline that Nakamura was saying. So I thought it was a good match, but I knock it down pegs because of the honestly justifiable expectations that I had for this. I think it's justified to expect a great match from Nakamura and Rollins. I think it's fair to expect a great story, like a great in-match narrative based on what they've been telling up until this point. And I don't think we got either of those things.
Dude, Nakamura could have done, that spot where he puts the people, like, I haven't seen, maybe he did the spot, but I mean, maybe I was looking at my phone during the match, but good Lord. But there was a moment when, where he lays him across the turnbuckle and he runs and hits him.
Oh, yeah. To the back. To the back. He did a regular Kinshasa. How about a Kinshasa to the back?
To the back. That's what I mean.
He did that flying knee off the top rope that hit Rollins like right here. That was nasty. To the back. Like, he was just doing regular Nakamura things, and like you said, the commentary was talking about how vicious he's being to the back. I'm like, no, he's not.
Like the good vibration move when he goes like,
yeah,
do it to the back.
To the back.
Like that's what I mean. Like there was so many. That's what I felt disconnected from the match. It was like, you're selling me that, like, Bret Hart knows how to work an injury. Like, if he's working the leg, Bret's working the leg. Every single thing that Bret Hart did in that match was against the leg. He would stomp on it, twerk it, take it to the turnbuckle post, slam it against the post, do a figure eight. Like, Bret Hart worked the leg, and I thought Nakamura was going to work the back like no one's business. And dude, WWE 2K3 video game players know how to work a section until that thing turns red.
Yes.
And at the end of that match, that thing was still yellow for Seth, for crying out loud. It was not ready. It was not red at all, brother.
No, it was not red at all. All right, so we're in agreement. Even though I'm saying it's a fine match, I'm giving it a thumbs down because of the poor narrative and missed expectations that all of us had, that I think are justified expectations. I don't think it's like the same wild expectations that we had for like SummerSlam, The Rock's coming out. No, I think these are fair expectations that just weren't met. Are you also thumbs down on this?
Yes, I am. But it's because there was a potential for more.
100, yeah. The potential was not met. Overall, I am giving Payback a thumbs up. I think for a B show, if we want to call it that, I think it over delivered, frankly, because I think a lot of people I was like, I'm missing this. This is just another Monday Night Raw. But I think that there's enough here where if you miss the show, I feel like you missed out. Personally,
you did.
I think you missed out. Yeah,
you missed out on a magical arena match, which those are very rare.
Yes,
that they worked out.
Yeah, greatest women's steel cage match of all time, in consideration for maybe one of the best steel cages in the last 10 years, because
that did not involve a high flyer spot.
Sure,
that's usually what the cage match is.
100%. So overall, like, I'm gonna give the PLE a thumbs up. It's not the greatest PLE, it's not Backlash like it was this year, but it's still something that I think was definitely worth sinking your teeth into and watching on Peacock.
I think the greatest win for this PLE is that the Judgment Day have all the gold. Like,
yeah,
at the end of the day, they have the gold. Kevin Owens and Sammy don't have the tag belts. The tag division could do something. That's a W. I don't know, dude. I don't know why I'm so afraid for LA Knight. I just am. He's
gonna be fine. He got the Cena endorsement. He's fine. All right.
I totally did a Jim Halpert to the camera.
All right. So let's wrap this up. Before we do so, if you're watching this on YouTube, just know that you got the short end of the stick. Our patrons got this a bit early. So if you want to join the Patreon, go ahead and check the description down below. I let you know where to find Sancho. Sancho, where can the people find you?
I mean, all things at Sancho West. I'm usually live on Twitch on the weekdays from 9:30 a.m. Central to 2 p.m. Central. I've mainly been playing from Fortnite Battle Royales, but I've been mixing up with some variety, and I would love to talk wrestling with the people. We the people out there. And hey, there's more to the Patreon that'll be coming, y'all.
100%. Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews. I'll be doing NXT and AEW reviews. This is just the start of the Patreon experience. You can continue to be a freeloader. Your scallywag is watching for free. What do you don't have $5? You poor. I'm just kidding. But yeah, you can continue to watch.
Buy that WWE NFL belt, which, by the way, those are sick.
Really? I think they're so generic.
Did you see the video of them?
No, I didn't see that.
Watch it in video.
Okay, fine. I'll watch it in video.
I thought the same thing too.
Okay.
I was like, 550. These look bad because
Yeah.
it don't present well in a picture form. But when you see that gold shimmer, you see that.
Maybe I need the Chargers one.
The Charger belt does look clean.
Yeah, I might need the Charger
the leather
belt.
strap is that Charger blue. Come on, dude.
Okay, you know what? If we get enough patrons, then maybe I'll be able to afford the Chargers belt.
Don't spend the $5 on yourself. Spend it on Santi's belt. Okay.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Wherever it is that you're watching, whether it's YouTube or any podcast services around the globe, please make sure to leave us a like or review, whatever it might be. Thank you very much for watching. I think that wrestling school. Sancho thinks that wrestling is school. Thank you for watching.